Okay, we do have a starter in Columbus. Ohio State has announced that Kyle McCord is going to start, though, as Ryan Day said, Devin Brown will play against Indiana. Let's unpack this. Let's find out what's happening there in Columbus. Kevin Noon joins us, writer and host, BuckeyeHuddle.com. Very popular, very good if you're into Ohio State football, at Kevin_Noon. And we say hi to Kevin. Hi, Kevin. I'll start here. Let's start with the players. Explain to us Kyle McCord and Devin Brown. Differences, similarities? Why don't we start with the two quarterbacks?
Yeah, I think everybody, when they hear about a quarterback battle, expects them to be completely different, and one guy's a pocket passer and one guy's a dual threat. Both of these guys are pretty similar. There are some differences. Kyle McCord is a year older. He was teammates with Marvin Harrison Jr. in high school. He has one start. He started against Akron in 2021 when C.J. Stroud was nursing a sore shoulder. He is more of your drop-back passer, whereas Devin Brown, who's a year younger, five-star, who split time between Arizona and Utah during the prep ranks, maybe a little bit more of a runner. Is he Lamar Jackson out there running? No, he's not, but he's a little bit more of a runner. But I think if you're an Ohio State fan or just a fan of football in general, everybody remembers C.J. Stroud and the label of him being kind of an unwilling runner. Both of these guys are very capable of running the ball. They both have big arms. They can make all the throws. It's a lot of pressure to put on guys that have 1 and 0 starts. But from what we've seen out of them, I don't really think there are a lot of throws that they can't make. So more similarities than differences.
Kevin, when you look at the two quarterbacks right now, is it a situation where both guys have played great and they can't tell the difference, or neither guy has really performed at an elite level that's been able to separate themselves?
I think it's a level of consistency. I think that 1 week or from practice to practice or maybe even series to series, one guy is a little better than the other one, and then lo and behold, the other guy's a little bit better. But call me a skeptic. I think that there's something, too, about just trying to keep everybody engaged. And if you shut this thing down 2 months ago, do you potentially run the risk of losing focus of the guy who doesn't get the starting job? I think that it is a good position for Ohio State to be in terms of having two guys that are very capable of being the starter, especially with Ryan Day's track record with first-year quarterbacks at Ohio State. So I don't look at it as, well, nobody was able to just take the job. Nobody was that impressive. I think both were impressive, and it was just a matter of trying to find the consistency and find somebody to just rise up and shut the door on the other guy finally.
Kevin Noon joins us here, Sharp Money, BuckeyeHuddle.com, at Kevin_Noon. So my co-host here, Amal Shah, is a Buckeye as well, and we were talking earlier about the overall talent on this year's squad. Let's separate the quarterbacks, Kevin, and you fill in the blank. This Ohio State team is how talented?
I think this Ohio State team is very talented. I think the big concerns, and I think any Buckeye fan will be able to sit there and say this, it's going to come down to what the offensive line is going to be able to do with 3 new starters on the line. I think that it's going to come down to, will this defense be more of the model of what year 3 Jim Knowles looked like at Oklahoma State versus what year 1 Jim Knowles looked like at Ohio State or Oklahoma State? Will those explosive plays go down from 3, 4, or 5 a game to 2, 1, or 0? And I think that there's a lot more familiarity within the system. I think you have a team that has a lot of talent coming back. I mean, obviously, there are key departures that we mentioned. You lose C.J. Stroud, who's QB1 in Houston. You lose 3 linemen who did very well in the NFL preseason. But the pieces are there. And I know that right now, reading a lot of the predictions have Michigan ahead of Ohio State in terms of the Big Ten. But if you sit there and you get into the analytics and you look at SC Plus and some of these other things, it really likes Ohio State. And I tend to agree with the analytics.
Kevin, let's go to the defensive side of the ball. We know what JT Tuimoloau is capable of doing. Jack Sawyer was also a big-time recruit, necessarily hasn't lived up to the hype yet. How good can this pass rush be, including guys like Tyleik Williams?
I think it could be really good. I think we're going to see a little bit of a philosophy change. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a let's stop the run first, and then everything else will sort itself out. people got spoiled through the years with having Bosa, Young all go through the Ohio State defensive line. And when you have three generational players in less than a decade, essentially, there's something to be said about that. So, yeah, I think there are some disappointments that Ohio State has not had more sacks. I think the number was 34 last year, if I recall correctly. But I think that they're going to do a better job of getting to the quarterback. And a name that I would mention right there with Tuimoloau and with Sawyer is keep an eye on Kenyatta Jackson, who has really been coming on. I think he's going to kind of be that third end for Ohio State. And I think that he's going to be somebody we're going to be talking about in a big way come the end of the season.
How good is the wide receiver Harrison Jr.? We've seen so many great wide receivers come through as of late at Ohio State. How good is he, Kevin?
I was just talking about this with some people just the other night, and my days with Ohio State go all the way back to, Joey Galloway. And I've seen some great ones come through, the David Bostons of the world, Michael Thomas. I mean, certainly the crew right now that, goes all the way up to Jackson Smith-Njigba going to Seattle. But Marvin Harrison Jr., I think, is really the rare combination of being just a technician out there running his routes, has a great catch radius, has a great understanding of the game. You go back to the Georgia game in the Peach Bowl, they really had no answer for him whatsoever. I think that he is going to be kind of the standard bearer of what the Ohio State receiver room is, which is kind of crazy when you just look at the recent success that they've had over the last couple of years of putting guys into the National Football League.
Tailback position loaded there. Travion Henderson, Mayan Williams, Evan Pryor, Dallin Hayden, Chip Trainum. Kind of give us the rotation of the top three here and who's going to get the bulk of the carries potentially on Saturday against Indiana.
I think I would expect to see Travion Henderson be one and Mayan Williams be two. We had the opportunity to talk to Ryan Day today at the Woody Hayes facility, and that's what it kind of sounded like there. Chip Trainum, let's not forget, he did play running back at Arizona State, came to Ohio State as a linebacker. Injury necessity moved him back to running back. So he's probably your third, and then I would say then it would be maybe Dallin Hayden and then Evan Pryor, who Pryor's really been dealing with injuries since getting to Ohio State after redshirting his first year. But I would probably say, Ohio State really rides the hot hand. But if I had to predict it, I'd say 65-35 in terms of snaps between Travion Henderson and Mayan Williams.
If I was in Columbus and I talked to Ohio State fans about Ryan Day, what would they say? 45-6. This is year 5. He hasn't lost, but the 2 losses to Michigan in consecutive years. What's the conversation about Day?
He better beat Michigan would be the discussion. That's what I hear all the time, and people will be quick to point out that the 6 losses, when you look at them, they've been against teams that have been equal in talent to Ohio State, and most of those 45 wins have been against teams that Ohio State probably rolls out of bed and is just better than. So there's a division amongst the fans in terms of how they feel about that Michigan series and where it is. Sure, it was great that Ohio State was a 50-yard field goal attempt away from going to the national championship game, and we can play the what-if game. I think Ohio State wins pretty easily against TCU, maybe not to the extent that Georgia did, but I think that Ohio State would have won a national championship last year if they would have made that field goal. But there's still going to be the people who are like, well, that's still not good enough. If that bingo card does not include a win against Michigan, it's all for naught. So I think it's also a little bit of a generational divide. I think there are a lot of young fans that don't remember the lean years against Michigan and have kind of a skewed perspective of things, but I think all in all, everybody wants to see them get one over on Michigan this year and kind of stop the trend that is not going in the right direction.
I'm old enough to remember John Cooper, that's for sure. So it's into Jim Tressel, who absolutely dominated Ann Arbor. Wow, what a great job! We needed that. Thank you very much, Kevin. That's exactly what we needed with the new quarterback there. Again, BuckeyeHuddle.com. Kevin Noon. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate you.
All right, take care, guys.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.